You've been waiting your entire life for something that was always right there. Every morning you wake up, brush your teeth, drink your coffee, and move through the same familiar routines. But somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this nagging sense that you're missing something fundamental about existence itself. You keep thinking tomorrow will bring clarity. Next week will offer better perspective. Next month, you'll finally have time to really pay attention. But decades pass, and that elusive understanding remains just out of reach. Why do we spend 70 years on this planet believing that awareness is something we'll develop later, when we have more time, more wisdom, more of whatever we think we're lacking right now? You sit in your favorite chair, look out the same window you've gazed through for years, and suddenly realize you've been seeing without truly noticing, living without fully experiencing the weight and beauty of each passing moment. The truth is, most of us sleepwalk through life until something forces us to wake up. But what if the very thing you've been searching for isn't hidden at all? What if it's been staring you in the face every single day? I'm not talking about surface level mindfulness or empty spiritual platitudes or some new age philosophy promising instant enlightenment. I'm talking about a profound shift in perception that changes how you experience every remaining day you have left on this earth. You've lived through decades of seasons, watched countless sunrises, said goodbye to people you loved, and yet somehow missed the deeper current running beneath it all. This moment of recognition doesn't require you to change your entire life, travel the world, or achieve some impossible standard of enlightenment. And here's what makes this realization so powerful. It's available to you right now, today, regardless of your age, health, or circumstances. The Japanese have a word for this awakening that captures something Western psychology has struggled to articulate for centuries. In this video, we will explore how a single concept from Japanese aesthetics can transform your relationship with time, loss, and the bittersweet beauty of being human at any age. If you've ever felt like you're finally ready to stop postponing deeper awareness and start experiencing life with the full weight of its meaning, then what I'm about to share will feel like coming home to something you've always known but never had words for. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to this channel, not because I need the numbers, but because engaging with ideas that challenge how we see reality is itself an act of intentional living. And I want to continue exploring these profound concepts with people who are serious about waking up to what's actually happening in their lives. The Japanese concept is called mono no aware, often translated as the pathos of things, or the bittersweet awareness of the impermanence of all things. But these translations barely scratch the surface of what this philosophy reveals about human consciousness and why life suddenly feels different once you truly understand it. Mono no aware isn't just about accepting that everything ends. It's about discovering that the temporary nature of existence is precisely what makes each moment infinitely precious and worthy of your complete attention. What happens when you stop fighting the fact that your body is aging, that people you love will die, that seasons change whether you're ready or not, and instead allow yourself to feel the profound beauty in life's transient nature? You begin to notice things you've overlooked for decades. The way afternoon light falls across your kitchen table, how your spouse's laugh has evolved over the years, the surprising tenderness you feel watching your grandchildren discover the world with fresh eyes. This isn't sentimentality. It's a fundamental rewiring of how consciousness relates to time and experience. The reason most people never access this deeper level of awareness isn't because they lack intelligence or sensitivity, but because Western culture teaches us to resist impermanence rather than embrace it as the source of life's meaning. We're conditioned to fight aging, avoid grief, postpone important conversations, and treat each day as preparation for some future moment when life will finally begin in earnest. But mono no aware suggests that life has been happening all along, and our resistance to its temporary nature is what keeps us from experiencing its full emotional and spiritual richness. This shift in perception doesn't happen through effort or discipline. It emerges naturally when you stop trying to preserve or control experiences and instead allow yourself to be moved by their fleeting beauty. You start to understand that the ache you feel watching a sunset isn't sadness about the day ending, but gratitude for having witnessed something that will never happen exactly the same way again. You realize that the melancholy you experience during family gatherings isn't depression, but awareness of how precious these ordinary moments are precisely because they cannot last forever. When you truly absorb this understanding, every interaction becomes more vivid, every sensation more immediate, every relationship more significant, because you're no longer taking permanence for granted. You stop waiting for perfect conditions to appreciate what's already in front of you, and you begin to see that impermanence isn't life's cruel limitation, but its greatest gift, the force that transforms routine experiences into moments of profound meaning and connection. The paradox becomes even more striking when you consider that everything our society tells us about aging is designed to make us believe our best years are behind us. Yet those who genuinely understand impermanence report that their 70s and 80s contain emotional depths and daily satisfactions they never accessed in their supposedly prime decades. You've been conditioned to see each passing year as a loss, but what if each year is actually bringing you closer to a level of consciousness that younger people, despite their energy and opportunities, simply cannot reach because they haven't yet learned to stop running from life's fundamental truths? This isn't about romanticizing old age or pretending that physical limitations don't matter. It's about recognizing that the human capacity for meaning-making, for deep appreciation, for emotional richness actually increases as we stop fighting the natural progression of time and start working with it. Think about how differently you experience a piece of music now compared to when you were 30, how much more you notice in a conversation with an old friend, how much weight and significance you can find in a simple evening spent reading or watching the weather change outside your window. But here's where Mono No Aware becomes truly revolutionary in how it challenges Western assumptions about success and fulfillment. Most people spend their entire lives accumulating experiences, achievements, and possessions under the belief that more equals better, that permanent equals valuable, that lasting impact is the only kind that matters. Japanese aesthetics suggests exactly the opposite, that the most profound beauty and meaning emerge from embracing transience, from learning to love things precisely because they don't last, from finding completeness in moments that will never be repeated. When you stop trying to make experiences permanent and instead allow yourself to be fully present with their temporary nature, you discover a quality of attention and emotional engagement that transforms even the most ordinary activities into sources of deep satisfaction. You're no longer rushing through conversations to get to some imagined better conversation later, no longer postponing gratitude until you have more reasons to be grateful, no longer treating today as a rehearsal for some future performance of living that never actually arrives. The reason this understanding feels so different from typical self-help advice is that Mono No Aware doesn't ask you to change anything about your external circumstances. It asks you to change your relationship with time itself. You don't need to travel, learn new skills, make new friends, or achieve new goals to access this deeper level of awareness, though you might find yourself naturally drawn to different choices. Once you stop relating to life as something you need to optimize or preserve, what becomes possible when you truly accept that every person you love will eventually die, including yourself, and instead of finding this thought depressing, you allow it to intensify your appreciation for every conversation, every shared meal, every mundane Tuesday afternoon spent in their company. You begin to understand that grief and gratitude aren't opposite emotions. They're two faces of the same deep recognition of how precious temporary things become when you stop taking them for granted. This awareness doesn't make you passive or resigned. It makes you more selective about where you invest your attention and energy, because you finally understand that time is the only resource that actually matters, and that every moment you spend fighting reality is a moment you can't spend experiencing the profound beauty of what's actually happening right now. You start making different choices, not because you should, but because other choices no longer make emotional or spiritual sense once you've tasted this level of presence and aliveness. The most radical implication of Mono No Aware is that it suggests our entire cultural narrative about aging is not just wrong, but backwards. That the supposed tragedy of getting older might actually be the gradual unveiling of human consciousness's deepest capacities for meaning, connection, and appreciation. What if the reason older adults often seem more patient, more grateful, more emotionally present isn't because they've resigned themselves to decline, but because they've finally learned to stop running from the very experiences that make life most worth living? Today, we begin a journey to understand why this Japanese concept has survived for over 1,000 years, and why discovering it at 70 might be the most perfectly timed awakening of your entire life, revealing not just how to live live your remaining years, but how to experience them with an intensity and depth that makes every previous decade seem like preparation for this moment of finally, truly waking up to what it means to be alive. The ultimate revelation of Mono No Aware isn't that life is short. It's that life has been unimaginably rich this entire time, and you're just now developing the eyes to see it. Every person who discovers this awareness reports the same startling realization. They weren't living less life in their earlier decades. They were simply blind to the extraordinary beauty that was always present in the most ordinary moments. The tragedy isn't that you're 70 and running out of time. The tragedy is that our culture convinced you to spend decades waiting for life to begin when it was happening with breathtaking intensity every single day. What if everything you've been taught to fear about aging, the slowing down, the letting go, the acceptance of limitations, are actually the very conditions that finally allow human consciousness to experience its deepest capacities for wonder, gratitude, and connection? The Japanese understood something that Western philosophy has missed for centuries, that the peak of human experience isn't found in accumulating more, but in perceiving more deeply what's already here. You now have a choice that younger people don't even know exists. You can spend your remaining years mourning what's behind you, or you can use this moment to step into a quality of aliveness and presence that most people never access at any age. The question isn't whether you have time left. The question is whether you'll finally stop postponing the experience of being fully awake to the profound beauty of temporary things. Here's what I want you to do right now, and this isn't just another YouTube engagement request. This is an invitation to begin practicing Mono No Aware immediately. Instead of simply liking this video, I want you to pause and look around wherever you're sitting right now. Really look. Notice something in your environment that you see every day, but haven't truly observed in months or years. Feel the weight of recognizing that this moment, you here now, having just learned about this ancient wisdom, will never happen again exactly like this. Then in the comments below, don't just tell me what you noticed. Tell me what it felt like to notice it with the awareness that it's temporary, that this exact configuration of light, sound, sensation, and consciousness is already becoming a memory even as you experience it. Share not just what you saw, but what you felt when you truly looked at something ordinary with the understanding that its impermanence is what makes it precious. Because here's the revolutionary truth that will challenge everything you thought you knew about time, aging, and what it means to live fully. The people who learn to see life through the lens of Mono No Aware don't just find peace with getting older. They discover that every year forward is potentially richer, more emotionally satisfying than any year they've lived before, suggesting that the greatest adventures of consciousness are still waiting for you.